Good morning, everyone. And it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to start the VOH leadership panel today. And there was a lot of thought going in my mind yesterday with respect to how to make it phenomenal and value additive for all of you over here. And the way thoughts were coming and striking in my mind were related to the uncertainties. We are overwhelmed by so many things which are happening around the globe right now, and I don't need to even tell. Every day is becoming really uncertain. From maybe about 2 years back, it was so certain, and now it's so uncertain. But that also brings me to the point that as leaders in diagnostics, what are we thinking about in the next 3 years? How diagnostics is going to progress? Is it going to be really an in-house story, or is it going to be really reckless going forward? Is it going to stabilize? What is going to happen in the next few years? And what better than this expert panel who knows and who is basically driving this superhighway at this point of time? Just like we have the Bharatmala project, this is the Bharatmala project that these experts are driving for diagnostics every day. In fact, if I had the opportunity, I would have gone to their offices, personally met them, and I would have asked the same questions which we are going to ask today. But the only difference is now we all get to hear them. So with that, I want to start the session. We are slightly behind time, so my request would be to all my expert panelists to keep it a little bit brief so that the crux is translated to the audience over here. Our topic of discussion is the future of diagnostics, very apt: innovation, trust, and India's global promise. What can we probably learn from the government, right? About 6 months back, we were thinking, why are we not taking sides? Why are we not getting into this, very clearly, whether it is US or Russia or whatnot? But now, as things progress, every day we think like maybe it was an okay decision to remain non-aligned. So let's see, what sides are the leaders of diagnostics taking today? So I will start my first question here with Dheeraj. Everybody knows Dheeraj, right? I don't even need to say. But he's most famous for Redcliffe, but I came to know that he has at least 50 other ventures going on parallelly, and I don't know how he does it. But Dheeraj, you have steered Redcliffe through a massive expansion, driven by funding rounds after rounds. Now I don't know, after BC, ABC, is it DEF or where is it? I don't know. But you are yourself the capital holder, so you would be keeping track of it. My question to you is that you often speak about diagnostics from the core of longevity. From an investor's perspective, how do you make a transition in diagnostics from a one-time report to a long journey which is commercially viable at an Indian scale?
No, thank you, Vijay, and thank you, Naveen and Pinky, for setting up this conference. And I agree, Vijay. I mean, what a great co-panelists I have on this stage. You're right. I think the diagnostic has been, 4 or 5 years back, pre-COVID, it was report, static report, not even digital, sample collected at the center, not even at home. How much has changed post-COVID? There's a lot of that innovation has come up. In the previous presentation, we were hearing about sample quality, the transit, the logistics, and all of that. And that innovation, I think, has got us today where sample could be collected as early as 4 a.m. in the morning for someone who's going to work, and then get their report by the time he or she reaches office. But that's an era, I think we're seeing is kind of maturing, and everybody seems doing that. But what is the next thing? And we've been thinking, what else is happening in the country where the Gen Alpha and Gen Z, who are almost 40% of that consumer, what do they want? What are they thinking about? And I think one way which is very clear is around fitness, wellness, and even sports for that reason. I was in Bangalore with Nitin Kamath last weekend, and we had a show called Peak Street 8, where they got 1,000 founders came together, and we did cardio together. We did push-ups together. We went to the gym together. There were 3,000 total people, and then we had a recovery, and then we had a food, and no cocktails in the night. It was, catching up over conversation and all of that. So this is where it looks like the next gen folks are kind of thinking about. They don't want to take alcohol. They want to have conversation. They don't want to. They're very mindful of what they're eating. They're also very mindful how long they sleep, and you see the wave of protein now in the last sort of 1 year. So if that's what the next gen sort of is demonstrating, can diagnostic do anything for them? Because there's no point having variable if you don't actually know what your lipid profile is. So what diagnostic have done in the past is obviously did extremely well on illness side, but on the wellness, it's already doing a great job. But can the wellness survive and stand alone on the static report? Why don't we put the longitudinal data, biomarkers across the timelines, and then feed with my lifestyle and eating, and also how my sleep pattern and quality of sleep and quality of rest, quality of recovery, and all of that, if you feed into all of that, can I close that loop? And that's what I think the next wave of innovation we think for diagnostic companies, even for the healthcare companies. I think the future of health tech is not about hospitals for sure. Even hospital, there would be more advanced, like the Even and Super Health, and some of these guys are rethinking about hospitals as well. But it's really about, can I have that access? For me, the healthcare is not going to be standalone diagnostic. It's not going to be standalone wearable or a ring or a protein powder or supplement. It all need to be combined? So the opportunity for diagnostic, and especially for the new age guys like us, is that how do I actually get that closed loop for these consumer, for these young gens who happy to share a picture of the food they're eating through our app. We have at Recliff we have launched a face scan, an AI face scan, so we can actually see the HRV, BMI, and BP on a real-time basis, and use that data with all the other data on the wearable side, and then give that a very deep insight of their health. And it is clearly moving towards preventive and predictive, and we're seeing these cohorts emerging in the other part of the world with Whoop, for example, the kind of data they carry, the experience they carry. So I think it's that experience. And that's then connecting to the larger issue India has, which is the non-communicable disease. The burden we've been living now for a couple of decades is getting worse and worse. So how do we then actually help these consumers not to get sick at all? Look there, all the core biomarker more not on a real time, because we don't want them, and they don't want them to test every month. For some, it's once in a year. It's now moved to twice a year, maybe 4 times in a year. But how do we actually get that super amazing insight, which they never had? And I think that's where the opportunity is. Now, capital going to come into this play. Business models are emerging. The new talent are coming up. Clinically, some of us have to think about how it means for the assays we are running, how efficient that could be. ICMR have to think about, if this goes to the mass, how do we control, how do we actually regulate some of these things? So I think it's an opportunity. I think the next 2 years, if we do this conference again in 2 years down the line, I think what I'm talking about right now will become mainstream. Right now, it's they're different at a higher on the pyramid, but I think it's soon to come to masses, and that's an opportunity not just for Recliff, for every diagnostic company sitting in this room, and to all my panelists to think about this opportunity.
Wonderful, Dheeraj. I think you're already setting a timeline. That's great. Okay, this brings me naturally to Sriram. And again, no introduction required, but I can tell you that if there is something where unthinkable has to happen, then Sriram can do it. The reason being that I have seen it, it was almost like, don't even think about it. This cannot happen. Hospital and a commercial lab cannot operate together, but this has happened. And Sriram, what is your next wave right now? How can diagnostics and AI truly influence the disease pathways for patients moving beyond a simple test result?
Yeah, hi all, and good to be here and among all the co-panelists. Pleasure to meet all of you. So I think, thanks Vijay for that. Of course, so I think a couple of the points will be similar to what Dheeraj said, but I think today if you see, I want to talk about NCDs, and everybody knows the number, excess of 200 million. At Apollo, we not only run diagnostic chains, we not only run clinics, but we also are part of the larger group of Apollo hospitals. So we really know how many patients do walk in, how many are chronic, how many are acute, at what conditions do they come in. So the severity of NCDs is not going anywhere. And if you put diabetic, pre-diabetic, cardiovascular, obesity, put all that number, it is anywhere about 200 million going towards 300 million. Now, conventionally how it has happened, right? Let's break in two parts. One, you just take some biological scores, age, gender, basic test results. And even in Apollo, we have built those AIs which have been running for a long time based on AI MLs, where whether it's a cardiovascular or any other score, it can be told with fair amount of accuracy, are you at risk of that? And that to me is some sort of a predictive, between a predictive and a predictive, a preventive and a predictive, but that also has to evolve, because that was what would have been relevant few years back is not there today. So while we continue to do that, and I think we do a lot of that score, we run in the algorithm, and that has been there for so many years. That's a USP also as well. This runs under our patented program called as ProHealth, which is the master executive checkup at Apollo. We do it at clinics, hospitals, and even at certain diagnostic centers. And the patient is told with a fair amount of confidence that you could be at a risk of a diabetic or autoimmunity or at a cardiovascular disease. That even could happen in future. But what next? If I add and I think he alluded to it, if I add the genetic markers to it, then it really moves into something called as a PRS or a polygenic risk score. That is where the future is. So we have to move from being preventive to predictive to personalized. And once I get that and add that together, that gives a very potent combination. Each one of us is different. And genomic testing is the one that is really has to pick shape in India. We do hardly any number here, of course, compared to some of the developed countries where it is subsidized and given by the countries itself. But if that comes in together, what that gives is a completely potent, very, very customized, tailored, personal intervention. And it will be different for each one of us sitting here. I think that is where I really see wellness in addition to lifestyle, wellness, food, intake. The biggest thing is our DNA. Each one of us are different. And if we get what we have been doing for so many years and get the genetic markers together, that to me is the era of moving from truly preventive to hyper-personalized. And that's where these interventions can then lead to pharmacogenomics, personalized medicine, all that is going to evolve from there. So that's the thing I really believe we are betting on at Apollo as well, and we really want to we always have a larger purpose. Our group has been, our chairman always says we have to empower 1 billion lives. He's an inspiration, and he's a wizard and a legend in the industry. So we want to, and we will continue to invest on this and take the leap and detect that early, right? The job is to stop people from coming to the hospitals before they get into surgeries and OTs and treat them really early.
Wonderful. I think we can see the trend, right? From a high level, we are getting into a little bit of a technical domain. And you mentioned genomics. So what we are going to do is we are going to do a little bit of a sine wave. So we started with a sine wave, then we get into that scientific side, technical side, and then we come back. We try to come back to the holistic picture. So genomics, right? Dr. Somnath, this is my question to you. I'm coming to your investments in Suraksha Genomics. And what was going in your mind? And you are in a part of India which is really untapped at this time still. And how do you think you can scale it up in that part of India, and what are your plans?
Good morning, everybody, and it's always a pleasure to speak to young minds. And I should be one of the oldest in the room, so always a pleasure. I think Sriram told it brilliantly that how diagnostics is going to go from the basics to genomics. Today, the main problem with genomics is, if you understand, that the whole genome costs you about $1,000. So anywhere in the world you do a whole genome, it'll cost you $1,000. The whole effort is to bring that whole genome to $100. Once you have that, and once you have your entire genome in your mobile phone, then things are going to change. Exactly what Sriram said. Anything that happens to you, you are going to feed into your library, and you are going to come up with a personalized treatment. And the days are not far. I think going slightly adrift, and because we are all from diagnostics, today we are in a very precarious condition. Half of the science is going to go away from us. I remember 10 years back, somebody from G told me, you know, Doc, who is your biggest enemy? I say, I did a politically correct answer, and I said, nobody you know. He said, no, Google is your biggest enemy. Today, ChatGPT has launched a platform where you can upload your healthcare data. So where do you think this is going to take us? Today, there are numerous AIs which are, recently in China, they diagnosed a pancreatic cancer at stage 1, which means it's curable. Today, you have next-gen sequences available to detect cancers at late stage 1, early stage 2, which makes cancer completely treatable. So the whole story leads to genomics, but at the same time, genomics is not exactly medicine. It is computation. The most important part of genomics is computation genomics. So it no more lies in our domain. It's somebody writing wonderful algos and trying to tell you that you have so much chance of getting this X or this Y as soon as you are born. And come to think of it, in 3 years' time, you're going to get quantum computation. The whole thing is going to be so damn cheap that you can run a quantum algo sitting back at home free of cost with ChatGPT reading your healthcare records. So we need to be very careful about how all these technology is going to bother us. Is it going to take the sciences away from medicine, and is it going to be only computation with huge databases churning out at lightning speed? The quantums can do 2 trillion per second computation. So that's like unbelievable. And then the thing I'm sure all of you must have heard about the CAR-T theory. This year, the Nobel Prize winner Shigo Shigure said in 5 years' time, cancer is going to be just another disease. You have identified how to convert a T-cell lymphocyte to fight cancer. And there is 100% cure of liquid cancers now. And there are already people in this city, in Mumbai, are trying it out on solid tumors. Mumbai IIT and Tata Cancer has come up with CAR-T19, discovered by Rajesh Purwar. So where does all this take us? Deep into genomics, but at the same time, it also takes the science away from us. So it's time, we teach our young medics to learn computation in a major way, so that they can actually utilize these sciences. I think
wonderful, sir. Thank you. I think you make the day for all of us here. Okay, wonderful. I think we are okay. Let's one thing which you touched, Dr. Somnath, that was 100 rupees genome. extremely critical to democratize the technology. And when we are talking about India, I used to observe, right, what is our core strength as a country? And we typically come across 1.45 billion people. That's our strength. Each one of us has got a quantum brain, so to say, inside us. And we don't need those chips, provided we work with each other nicely. But that's where my question comes to Dr. Dang. And he has taken a different approach. Many of us scale. We want to set up labs. He has tried to consciously stay very focused on doing things really right with few centers. So what's going on in your mind, Dr. Dang? And how do you democratize? Still, the purpose is that whatever you are offering should go to these 1.5 billion people, right?
So thank you, Vijay, for that very relevant question. And thank you, VOH and Naveen ji and Pinky and Khushbu and the entire team for having me. It's an absolute privilege. I look forward to such VOH conferences and, of course, such tricky questions from Vijay as well. But broadly, I think the entire esteemed panel that I have with me is kind of solving the problem for the 1.4 billion people in India. And, of course, our work that we do is, again, some people might call it non-scalable, but we call it the cornerstone for any time anyone needs the final diagnosis. That is how the legacy was born. That is how we have the highest doctor-to-patient ratio. That is how we today are very privileged to actually be serving people and serving people who actually have gone pillar to post and have had these various lab reports in front of us. And that's what we actually looked at. About 3 out of 5 people, Vijay, who come to us are for a final opinion or a third opinion or a fourth opinion. Now, how to actually democratize diagnostics is something that is often discussed in our MRMs and also on our dinner tables, unfortunately. But a lot of times what we think about is that healthcare is certainly not one size fits all. In this world where everyone's looking at these Excel sheets and top lines and bottom lines, I think we try and actually focus on the patient. Now, I'll just give an example, and this is something that used to bother me ever since I was a child, because, of course, both my parents being a pathologist and a microbiologist, and, of course, I used to see these advertisements in the newspaper and other labs, but I never really understood what's the point of this silver, gold, platinum, ruby, sapphire kind of packages, where a layman is actually picking a package based on 2 things. One is their budget, and the second is their basic medical knowledge. Like someone will say, yaar, मैं ना weekends पे 1-2 beer ज़्यादा पी लेता हूँ, तो चलो liver function कर दो. Whereas someone might say, यार, मेरी ना नानी जी को diabetes था, एक ना वो sugar का test ज़रूर कर देना. Whereas someone else will say something and they do it very, very randomly, and then the labs get a chance. Ki, sir, you asked for these 3 tests, you will get 30 tests only for 999 or 999 and things like that. All of us have experienced that, right? All of us. So what we set out to do, Vijay, 4 years back, was that me along with 3 of my doctors were like, let's make a free of cost website. Anyone can log on to it. It's lab agnostic. You can go to a Redcliffe or an Apollo or a Thyrocare and get your tests done. But if you are doing a test, measure what matters. Actually, if you are actually spending, then reduce that redundancy and reduce doing useless tests that are not meant for you. Now, what do I mean by that? So I'll start from the extreme right. Like Chatterjee sir might have a health goal that is maybe well-being and longevity, whereas Dheeraj works out a lot. His goal might be fitness. Sriram again is very stressed out, so he needs to optimize his sleep. I need to, of course, lose weight. Dr. Ramesh, again, probably has more to do maybe with some allergies or intolerances. And Mr. Singh probably might have some other issues like gut health. Vijay, of course, like me, has thinning hair. So, overall, all of us have a different health goal. All of us have a different family history. All of us have a different presenting complaint. So why should we be doing that gold and silver package and all those wellness profiles that are one size fits all? So this website that is called Discover by Dr. Ang, you log in, it's free of cost, and at least answer a few questions that my algorithm prompts. And then, of course, based on these various parameters, a unique profile is created for you. And this actually solves a lot of issues. Like there was this young boy in Kerala, of course, didn't test with us, but went on the same platform, put in a few details of his mom who's been having some body aches and pains. And of course, ultimately, she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia based on the initial workup that he did on this free of cost lab agnostic website. So I think, Vijay, the answer to your question is that it's not about solving for the 1.4 billion people. I think it's solving for that one person. Solving for that one person to make their journey unique and value additive. Whereas the whole world, what they're actually looking at is actually painting with a broad brush when what diagnostics needs today is fine strokes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks for sharing. And yes, this was a tricky question. I could not stop myself. Let's come further towards 1.5 billion people story that I'm trying to build now. And let's come to Dr. Ramesh. Everybody knows he was proponent for a long time in Future of Diagnostics. Now recently he's joined Thyrocare, and it's a different game altogether. I'm sure he realizes it. And let's hear from him. Okay. Dr. Ramesh, see, you have led operations in both sides, and now how do you strategically design a system to expand rapidly? That's your requirement now, I believe. In 2026, is operational excellence more about automation or more about having experts in the lab?
Again, tricky is a question. So, Vijay, it's never about what should be more, whether it's an automation or it's an oversight. Because with the help of automation, you can scale rapidly, but oversight ensures trust, which is a very important part in diagnostic industry. And not only diagnostic, in fact, I would say whole medical field works on trust and faith. Without this, it's not possible. So when we say, I'll give an example of railways. Along in 19th century, railways had a big issues, and over a period of certain years, they expanded. So our diagnostic industry is also like the same, at the same point today. Today, every patient wants not only the lab report, not only as a data point, but connectivity to the clinician, connectivity to the interpretations, and connectivity to the various healthcare resources by doing that test. And we also believe that one tube, one life. So when we process any test, it's not that we are just doing a data or number. It's about what impact actually can happen with that test for that particular patient. So that mission is itself very high. And that you require to nurture into the culture of the team. And when I'm saying as a CEO currently, if I'm very clear about my operational roadmap, the frontline workers, whether it's a technical staff or operational staff or phlebotomists, they stay very focused. So now, when I was giving example railway industry today, we are also building like a network. So we build like hub and spoke models. So wherever there is a problem in one network, the other network can take over and take the what you call workload also. So nothing can fail in that. And you know, instability in supply chain is very dangerous going on because of the Trump issues. I'll come to that also. So technology, everyone knows Thyrocare is a technology-driven company. So I see a lot of IITs, IIMs, people there sitting there with me and showing me how to actually use the data. Analytics. So a lot of things which I am now learning as a doctor, but I'm getting it fast. So technology always helps you scale very fast because our whole data is integrated end to end. So not only we are able to monitor the TAT for patient, but we also monitor the supply chain also. For example, when we say today I am not only able to make the P98 TAT of 6 hours, but I am also able to predict the forecast of supplies. I am also able to understand the patient's feedbacks and complaints. Last year, I think we have done one wonderful job. We nurtured into the culture of our company that every complaint or feedback, let's consider it as a complaint, and unless that customer, clinician, or patient is satisfied, we'll not close that. And today we have come to a point where we have 3.4 per million complaints are there. It's Six Sigma. Wow. It's one of the best things which happened to us. So that's what. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So going good, it seems. Very clear. Devendra, okay, so I come to you. You have a backbone of a very specialty organization, right? Indra IVF, and now you are heading the lab side of it. What is your strategy? Are you going to take the titans like ThyroCare head on, or you are going to stay in that niche and carve it out?
So, interesting question, Vijay. So,
I want you guys to fight. No.
So, being a largest IVF chain, probably in world now, so we are very focused on the patient outcomes, because in India almost 23 million couples need IVF, and we are not able to reach out to them. So Indira has done a very good job to democratize it, reach the access, as well as the screening is very stringent with us. So our focus is on how we can prevent the hereditary disorders to be passed on. So we do a lot of emphasis on the screening, as well as we do a lot of testing on the genomic side, like PGTA, PGTM, which help us to guide the patients as well as select the proper embryos. So we do a lot of emphasis on that. We have also integrated a lot of tech into our algorithms, like we have fertility calculator, so which gives a predictable outcome for the patient. Not only that, in treatments also we have developed certain protocols with help of AI, which helps us to regulate the treatment. What dose of RFSH has to be used, which is one of the major stimulant which is used in the treatment protocols. So AI as well as the diagnostic insights really help us to serve the patients. We are able to have a very good success rate because of that, and the satisfaction scores are very high.
Thanks for sharing. I think this is very clear. So you are going to carve a very clear path which actually works for the patient.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I now want to pivot a little bit, and I want the I would request all of you to be a little more brief than the previous one response, because this is about India. I want to talk about where our country is getting into picture, and I'll just give a little example of what we were faced with very recently. We had an option to choose a technology for immunoassay, which was made outside, and then we would bring it, and then we would, scale it. And this was one decision. This was very lucrative decision for us because there was a lot of, economics built into that kind of a case. But the other case was, let's take more time, let's make much more efforts, but make everything in-house in terms of reagents. I think immunoassay has not been attempted much to be manufactured in India grounds up. But then India came first. We decided not to go after the business part of it, but to build the technology ground up. Now, I think, of course, there were other situations facing us, and therefore we took that decision. But we want to probe you from that perspective, that where does India come into picture given the global uncertainty? And that's where I want to talk to Dr. Dang. Even Prime Minister has spoken about it, AMR, right? AMR is rising, and it was very honestly, it was little surprising to hear him talk about this technical stuff. And then, of course, there are technological innovations which are existing at this point of time. India is particularly impacted. So how do we take those innovations, or how do we build something inside our country? So, Dr. Dang, what is your perspective there?
So Vijay, again, very relevant. I think AMR, there's a lot been spoken about it. It is certainly the silent pandemic that's waiting to erupt. The way antibiotics are used and dispensed in the country, I mean, it's scary to even look at so many of these culture reports where we get these organisms that are pan-resistant. And of course, keeping the same in mind, I think innovation is key. I mean, one part of it, the biomuros and the Kaigens of the world will handle. But I think on the other side, the roles that lab can play, of course, is to embrace and provide those services. But also what we've done, and very proud to have kind of now had hundreds of patients gone through it, is what we call as bacteriophage therapy. And of course, we are the first lab and still the only private lab in the country that provides something that we call as bacteriophage sensitivity testing. Now, what is this? In simple terms, how we have certain antibiotics that kill bacteria, and now these antibiotics are becoming resistant, or in other words, are not effective. What the first alternate for this is something that is known as bacteriophages. These are basically cocktails of different viruses that are given instead of the antibiotics, jab antibiotics kaam nahi karte. And for this, there is one country, that's Georgia, and they are very advanced in this field of bacteriophage therapy. All of you won't believe it, but even in the case of a burn wound, they say if there's a burn wound, all of us are putting antibiotics and taking oral antibiotics here. These guys are just taking over-the-counter bacteriophage liquid form and just pouring it over the wound. So these guys are very advanced. So we had a tech transfer with them, and we did a partnership where anyone who needs this bacteriophage therapy first does the bacteriophage sensitivity test with us. And of course, we developed that capability to open the doors to India for this bacteriophage testing first. I see young people in their 30s. I mean, the most common case that we've kind of treated with this is chronic prostatitis. And 30s, a male in his 30s going pillar to post, hundreds of urologists, done hundreds of antibiotic courses, and it's not helping him. So, I mean, bacteriophages were the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think this is just one of the many examples of the great work being done by everyone. But I think, again, circling back to that 1.4 billion versus that one person, and that's where innovation is key.
Really wonderful. And thanks for bringing the technology to the country. Next question, Dheeraj, okay. I think this would be something which will evoke everybody's interest. Where is this, what is institutional capital chasing in diagnostics? What do they expect out of India?
First of all, I think the institutional capital is changing everything which you can do good in healthcare. So diagnostic obviously has been darling, given listed companies like Amira's and Lalpath, and everybody have actually for a very long time have shown that there is clearly that opportunity to grow organically, but also through larger menu, inorganic, and roll-up, and all of that opportunity exists. I think for someone like Redcliffe, you know, we've raised some $120 million through both venture and private equity, build up the scale, we're about to be profitable, or there almost, and thereon, I mean, we have investors still discussing what else can we do, and I think clearly the consolidation seems very, very clear, and that opportunity regionally to consolidate platform and then take up to a larger holdco. That is where clearly the opportunity, and there's more and more deals getting announced in the next several months. That is one. The second is, you know, if you can open up more vertical integration like what I mentioned earlier in the conference, where the consumers are no more looking at a single report, not a set of biomarker for their last report, but a longitudinal data analysis and connecting to wearables and to fitness apps, and you know, all of that if you can give that experience to a consumer to close the loop, where diagnostic is core, but then everything else also sort of combined. And I think investors are kind of saying, standalone apps haven't really pulled up the scale, and there is no end game for them. So if someone like Wycliffe or any of these new age guys can build up that experience, because we test some 15,000 consumers every day, go to 10,000 homes a day. Our ability to actually have the conversation, obviously, to promote some of these apps and integrate them, and obviously give them access to experience like Whoop does in other parts of the world. I think that is clearly one opportunity. So investors are kind of constantly looking if somebody can pull this kind of scale. Otherwise, I think women health, as one very, very large opportunity throughout, not just diagnostic healthcare. One of my other businesses just raised money from OrbiMed and a company called PSafe. We were not expecting, that kind of conversation, but that's kind of shows the interest available. So a lot of capital around, and also, going public at some point of time. So a lot of these new age companies like us have been there now for 4 or 5 years. So at some point of time, we need to unlock, and that opportunity to go public and do pre-IPOs, all of that sort of exists.
Wonderful. I think we are supposed to wrap up because there is always a dearth of time, honestly, in life. But one last quick question, and then we'll do a rapid fire. To Sriram, Dheeraj spoke about what is institutional capital chasing, and I think he spoke nice things. Would you, as the head of the institution, would you make the board look at a different matrix compared to what we are seeing today? How it's going to change in future? A quick one, please.
No, see, all of us run businesses, so obviously all of us have P&Ls to manage. So, but I think yes, on diagnostics, you should stop looking at. Of course, we have KPIs, stat, consumption. All of us will relate to it. I've learned from Meera a lot as well. So efficiency, all of those things, right? So of course, all of that is there. But I think over a period of time, all of this should now also move to targeted therapy and clinical outcomes. I think if we can do the transformation in diagnostics, and I just want to talk about, Dr. Somnath also spoke about it, right? When he talks genomics, what does it talk about? It's about data. It's about AI, ML. It's not about ChatGPT health coming in. And to your earlier question, what is it that India has? Our citizens are very different from abroad, people who are staying abroad. So I think going ahead, the role should be to find out that mutation early, or when a blood is taken from a newborn, maybe after 3, 4, 5 years, some detection can come in. That is the way to go. I think the future is to involve our molecular experts, scientists in product development. The future is data more and more. I think I was traveling abroad and I was just seeing genomics, how is it happening in Singapore and few other countries. It's fabulous. Massive amount of work is happening. The way data is getting crunched and the way scientists are getting involved there. And to really say in Singapore, what is the data, what is the demography, we are nowhere. I think that's the way to go. Apollo has one of the largest, one of the top 10 biobanks in the world, led by Sapiens. Almost 500,000 data is available. And I think there's a larger purpose here to use the data well and cut through that data and see. And more than 2/3 of the cases are cancers. So there are so many slides and markers available. And I think if you really ask me beyond these KPIs, that will keep happening. I think detecting early, figuring out that next mutation. And to his point, right, how does that genome price come from $1,000 to $100?
Yeah.
And we can figure out and catch that and use our data. And I think that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, time for a rapid fire. And the question that I want to pose each one of you is that what keeps you sleepless at night with respect to your organizations and shaping the future of diagnostics? It's also possible that you are having a very sound sleep. But Dr. Somnath, what keeps you sleepless? And quick.
And the enormous opportunity that lies in front of us. It's amazing the way genomics is changing the whole field of medicine. I remember Guy Kawasaki, you must have heard about him, say once at CAP to the pathologists that you were born in the basement, but you are destined for the penthouse. tomorrow it's all going to be dictated by this group of people, and it's wonderful. I wish I was 20 years younger.
Thank you. Dheeraj?
I go to sleep after reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm a Krishna devotee, so I really love my sleep. But when I wake up with loads of energy, but I think given what we have done in the last sort of several years, I think what is the next big disruption? That is what sort of always, AI is doing really well, but I think for the core diagnostic, is there anything which we're going to disrupt? We've done thyroid, vitamins, molecular, genetic. Well, what is the next sort of big thing? I mean, that's an answer we always look upon, and clearly AI is moving things further, but again, will it disrupt the way DX is done today? We don't know.
Sure. Shriram?
See, I get a very good sleep, but since you asked a question, I think there's a saying, right? Lead the change or change will lead you. I think what everybody is alluding to, there's so much of thing happening in tech. The question to ask is, over the years, this was a completely, I'll keep it short, it was an acute business, prescribed business. And it's now getting into so many facets. It is B2B, B2C, B2B2C, D2C, new technology emerging. And are you going to catch that wave? So, and whether it's product development, whether it's molecular, whether it's technology, we are also a tech company, we are also a product company, we are also a D2C company. So there's so much thing happening. How do you catch that wave? So, and are we agile enough to do it? That's the thing.
So 20 trains leaving the station at the same time. Dr. Dan?
Thank you, Vijay. So what keeps me up at night? So I have one serious answer and one fun answer. The serious and heartfelt answer is a wrong report, a report discrepancy. If there's a patient who walks in through those doors and says, your reports are not correlating, doc, or if there's another report, no matter what that lab is, that affects me. That gives us a sleepless night. That's a serious question. Fun question is Janvi Kapoor.
Dr. Ramesh?
Nothing important which can have a sleepless night, but one thing always troubled me. In fact, for so many years, indigenization.
Yeah.
I still feel that we are not, maybe look, when we say 1.4 billion and all those things, we have so many doctors, so many team members, we are still not able to do that. Specifically in high throughput instruments. Today when I sit with any of the vendors, which is not, I feel very bad about that. Because I think the indigenous is the only insurance for us against any world instabilities.
Thank you. Devendra, quick one.
Yes, so I get a very sound sleep. But for me, creating access to 1.4 billion people is the real challenge still with the diagnostic industry. So if you travel 50 kilometers away from any of the metro cities, you won't have access to healthcare. People still has to travel to metro or tier 1. So how do we create a reach? How do we create awareness about the NCDs? Particularly, we have 1.5 million new cases of cancer, more than 200 million with diabetes, and so many people needing infertility, right? So how do we create access and knowledge sharing with the people, and how we can integrate the technology?
Wonderful. Thank you.
So that is the real need.
Thank you. I think we'll wrap up the panel, and I hope we all learned from the leaders today. I don't need to summarize. We have Amira over here. Everybody wants to hear her. So thank you so much, panelists. Thanks for taking your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. And while I request the panelists to stay with us, I will request Mr. Kumar to please present a small token of our appreciation and gratitude to each of the panelists, starting with Dr. Somnath Chatterjee. Dr. Kumar, Mr. Kumar, if you can do the honors and help us. Thank you so much, sir. We'd also like to thank you so much. We thank Mr. Sriram Iyer. We thank Dr. Ramesh Kinha. We thank Mr. Dheeraj Jain. Please, ladies and gentlemen, be with us. We do understand, but please be with us. We thank Mr. Devendra Singh Rajput. We express our heartiest gratitude to Dr. Arjun Dang, and also for making this panel extremely fun to hear and watch at the same time. Thank you so much. I'll invite Dr. Nishchal to please step up onto the stage, as we would like to thank Mr. Vijay Kumar for moderating this session wonderfully. Dr. Nishchal, if you can please be here with us, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar. And if I could invite all of us to be together for a group picture, please. Thank you, to put a token to this wonderful session that we've all been part of. Thank you so much.
AI also, but ultimately it was great. Thank you for the lovely moderation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.